Today is Monday, the 10th of August, and coming into the market open today after last week, it was a beautiful breakout across the board for indices. 3 out of 4 of the indices that I track, the S&P, the Dow Jones, and the IWM, all made new all-time highs last week. The Dow Jones and S&P were the only ones that closed all-time highs, but either way, it's just a clear show of strength from the market after I guess a 2 month consolidation period, and the weekly timeframes or the weekly charts rather just look absolutely beautiful in terms of continuation here, especially for the S&P. The Nasdaq is the only one that didn't make all-time highs last week, but in terms of structure on the weekly time frame at least, it looks great. It's held the rising 20. It's reclaimed the 10 on the weekly time frame, and then also on the daily, it's looking like it's at a resistance kind of area now, but it's looking like it wants higher. Everything's showing me that price wants to go higher. It's gapping up into the open today, so I guess we'll see if that holds or not. But the fact that it's had consecutive or multiple closes above the 50-day, it's looking like the 10-day will reclaim the 20-day as of today and resume its uptrend, or as the 10's already resumed its uptrend, but potentially the 20-day as well. And it just looks good overall. So I'm definitely leaning more bullish coming into today as opposed to anything. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback today, or just throughout this week at some point. But ultimately, price looks like it wants higher, and based on what we had back in April, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw something similar, because this really does look constructive in terms of market structure. The VIX also at absolute range lows, so no causes for concern there. The dollar did make new lows on Friday. It's currently holding them, but ultimately that comes off of the back of the US and Japan yen intervention, and uh, I guess not as much of a concern, but the NFP figures that came in super soft again is more about saying that actually the market isn't kind of too concerned about rate hikes now moving forwards. So the fact that we do have a weaker dollar, the fact that there is less of a cause for concern around potential rate hikes coming into this year end, it's good for equities, it's good for asset prices. So overall, I see this as kind of a bullish thing, and that's also being supported in yields right now as well. The lower time frame yields, the 2 year, the 5 year, coming into the 50 or just above the 50, the 10 year and the 50 and the 30 year. It's looking like it's putting in a lower high right now. It's not a breakdown in market structure or anything, but definitely on the daily is looking like a lower high. So it's in a chopping environment right now, and potentially could pave the way for lower, and that would also be supportive of price appreciation across equities, across risk assets, I suppose. But there's definitely signs, or things to pay attention to moving forwards in terms of the things that are kind of bullish right now. The fact that it was a really weak NFP report isn't great. If that does continue to happen, then I think that the market might start to look at that as a negative thing. But as of right now, it's more about relief, and I don't think it's too much to be concerned about as of yet. So spoke about this last week, and about gold and silver having a move off of its lows, and I did see this as a technical move, but at the same time, with what's happened with NFP, with what's happening with yields flattening out, it could be a safe haven play, and it makes sense that it is a bit of a safe haven play. But I do still see this as a technical move as of right now. Gold and silver miners were the best performing sectors as of last week, so that is definitely something that I'm going to keep an eye on. It also comes at a time where Bitcoin is shaping up pretty nicely. It closed last week as an inside week. It's holding its rising 200-day, and it's looking like it kind of wants higher, if I'm honest. So things have been really tight. All of kind of last week was relatively tight, slightly higher, but nothing major. But ultimately tight, and all of these lower time frame moving averages are flattening out. So it does look extremely constructive for a breakout to be on the cards at some point. And if gold does start to push higher, ideally I'd like to see Bitcoin move with it, in terms of it being some sort of safe haven play, in the sense is a bet against the dollar. I know that Bitcoin's not really mature enough yet to be a safe haven play, but ultimately I'd like to see it catch some sort of bid if there was a cause for concern around the dollar. If the dollar did continue to sell off more, I would like to see a reaction in Bitcoin. So just having a look at ETFs across the board, space stocks kind of finding support here, but nothing too significant yet. Healthcare still remaining strong, still remaining is uptrend intact, and looks like it actually does want to go higher this week. Biotech had a bit more selling than healthcare, but ultimately looks good as well. It looks good for continuation to the upside. And energy looks okay, but flat for the most part. And the financial sector is in a clear uptrend. So I don't know. I guess I'd like to see this kind of start to turn down if yields do come off. But yeah, I guess it's not a super volatile market, so I'm not really too concerned about this at the minute. In terms of my breadth indicators, breadth is I guess telling me the real story. Well, not the real story. Price is always telling me the real story, but breadth is really supporting that story in terms of what the indices are showing me. So the number of stocks above the 20-day moving average closed way above the 50 midpoint, which is where it was kind of hovering around and looking like it potentially could push higher this week. It does make sense that it could pull back here, but ultimately it's really constructive. The number of stocks making new monthly highs closed. There wasn't a massive range in week, but it did close near its high, which is definitely constructive. The number of stocks making 52-week highs closed near its lows, but it was also a low ranging week, and I'm not really too concerned about this. The number of stocks making 52-week lows is still at its range low, and had a super small range in week last week. I guess the fact that it is towards its range low is potentially a cause for concern, in the sense that, well, if it's at its range lows, it's kind of more prone to pushing up, and that would mean that stocks sell off and make new lows. So that obviously wouldn't be bullish. But ultimately, I don't really feel too concerned about this, and I see this as constructive. The fact that it's still below 100 is a good thing. So overall, coming into the market open today, I can't not be bullish. I feel like the market is clearly showing that strength is returning, and just having a quick look at Stockb's primary breadth indicators, it really supports this. So every single trading day last week was in favor of the bulls, and 3 out of 5 days were clearly in favor of the bulls. There's a couple balance days here, but the start of the week and to end the week as well is super bullish for in terms of strength. There's a clear show of strength, and the 5-day ratio coming up towards 3, which is again another clear sign that bulls are just in total control here. So unless some heavy selling comes in that regard, then I'm going to remain bullish. But yeah, coming into this week, I'm definitely leaning towards the bullish side, and I'm looking to take any positions that present themselves.